Spider-Man Far From Home is the first MCU film to be released after Endgame and finds Peter Parker still grieving over certain important events that take place at the end of that film. I won't say what because I recently went to see Endgame again with my sister because she hadn't seen it, and when a trailer for this film came on, a good few people in the cinema were annoyed because it revealed the fate of certain characters. I thought it was kind of funny because they were like, "What the fuck?" and shouting spoilers at the screen. Speaking of spoilers, what is wrong with the marketing team behind Hobbs and Shaw? Do they just have no faith that a film like this will have an audience? All people needed to see was the prison riot scene from Fast 8 to tell if this was a cool idea. Why they felt the need to show the entire plot of the film in the trailers, I have no godly idea. Shame on you. So Far From Home finds Peter Parker trying to enjoy his school life with his friends on a field trip / vacation to Europe, but giant monsters and a mysterious hero from another dimension keep getting in the way. Spider-Man has to choose between the life he wants and the responsibility to be a hero that has been thrust upon him. So I liked Homecoming. It was good but not great. I liked the comedic tone and the smaller stakes and the high school environment and the characters, especially Michael Keaton as the villain. And I also wasn't really blown away by the trailers for this film. It felt like kind of the same thing, only they changed the setting, and although I really like Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor, I wasn't really into him as Mysterio, like as a hero. I'm gonna get into spoilers in a little bit, but I'll say that I really like this, probably more than Homecoming, but it has a problem that I've seen before in other MCU movies, mainly Iron Man 3 and Captain Marvel. First of all, pretty much the whole cast is good. It has some of the best Spider-Man action scenes and some of the best web swinging scenes too. It is actually pretty cool to see Spider-Man swinging around locations that aren't New York, and then later in scenes where he is in Manhattan for the first time in this series, it feels very familiar and comfortable, and it also looks great. The CGI is good, but some of the shots of the actors look kind of fake, like they're just on a green screen instead of in the actual location. The story is all about choosing heroism over being a normal kid, and the negative effects that being Spider-Man has on his personal life, and it's very appropriate to this character. I've never really read the Spider-Man comics, but I do know that this is maybe the most important element of the Peter Parker character, so it works well here. They continue to explore the "with great power comes great responsibility" theme without ever actually using the line itself. It is funny, but an awful lot of the jokes just don't land, which is strange because they seem really well written and it feels like they should have been funny, but either the performances or the filmmaking just weren't supporting them. Martin Starr and JB Smoove are really funny, but just not here. Maybe once I laughed at JB Smoove, but other than that, it was just a bit disappointing. And they never explain why a science field trip is going to Venice and Paris and London to basically sightsee. It's just a small point. I don't like Ned, Peter Parker's best friend. I don't find him funny, and every time he blurts out something that's supposed to be a secret or makes up some awful excuse to cover for Peter, it just leads to those awkward scenes where they're trying to come up with an explanation for his explanation, and those scenes aren't funny. Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio was really good. Everything about his character is spoiler filled, but I'll say that what starts out as a strangely boring character eventually does make sense and improves dramatically once it's revealed what he's all about. I was a bit pissed off at the beginning of the film because it starts off with Peter having a crush on Mary Jane, or MJ, and coming up with a plan to tell her how he feels while they're away on his European vacation together. It pissed me off because it just felt so lazy. You know what it felt like? It felt like Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, the film. In the book, Harry gradually realizes that he has feelings for Ron's sister Ginny. People criticize the way that the whole thing is written, but I really liked it because I'm a romantic. And I was really looking forward to seeing how they were going to portray that slow dawning realization in the film version. But then I went to see it, and apparently Harry fell in love with Ginny in the summer holidays between movies when he wasn't even in her presence and showed no sign of so much as a hint of attraction at the end of the previous film. It was so fucking lazy and I hated it. The same thing happens here. The last film ended with a hint that maybe she likes him a bit, somewhat, and he's oblivious. But this film begins, and now, out of the blue, he really likes her. So much so that he has a plan to reveal his feelings at the top of the Eiffel Tower. It's lazy, it's forced, and I hate it. Also, and this is just a side thing, but I've been to Paris and to the top of the Eiffel Tower. I know what they say, that it's like the most romantic city in the world, and it probably would be if there was a car commercial like Absence of People while you were there doing whatever romantic thing you saw in that romantic scene in that romantic movie that time. Paris is fucking stuffed with tourists, and there ain't nothing romantic about that. Before I get into the spoiler talk, I'll say that I definitely recommend the movie, but make sure that you stay for the end credits because it's actually important plot information that's being revealed, and it kind of gives an explanation of why Nick Fury acts like such a dick throughout the whole movie. So it's spoilers from here on out, and most of the spoilers are about Mysterio and the problem with the plot. Mysterio is presented as a hero from another dimension, but is then revealed to be a fake who uses holograms and drones to create destructive events so that he can pretend to save the day, and I really love that. It reminded me of Syndrome from The Incredibles, and when I saw the trailer and Mysterio as a good guy with vague, boring energy blast powers, I was really put off. The whole thing with Mysterio, which I remember from Spider-Man the Animated Series, was that he was all about illusions and tricking Spider-Man with visuals, and thankfully they do have that, and it's awesome. It's probably the best part of the whole movie. It's a sequence where Spider-Man is trapped in these changing and imaginative illusions, and it was probably one of the best live-action representations of a superhero's powers that I've ever seen. And I wish that it had gone longer and there was more of it, but for what I got, it was great. And I really like the character that Jake Gyllenhaal turns out to be. He's cold-hearted and menacing, but there's this kind of like frustrated artist thing where he's tweaking his illusions and shouting at his crew like, I just want it to be perfect. Why does no one respect my vision? He has this whole point that these days you might be an incredibly smart person, but if you're not a superhero, then no one really pays attention to you, which I took to be a criticism of like the landscape of cinema as it exists today, where you might have these really smart, well-made films coming out, but if it's not a superhero movie, then general audiences aren't really going to give it the same kind of attention. I mean, that might not be what the filmmakers intended, but it's what I took away from it. And I liked how he and his crew were all in the background of different moments throughout the MCU. It was funny and well realised, and it continued the theme from Homecoming, with Spider-Man villains being created as a result of the actions of characters in previous Marvel movies. But the problem is the same as in Iron Man 3 and Captain Marvel, with the twist about the villain not being who he seems. It leads to the beginning of the film feeling off and weak and strangely unengaging. Once the reveal happens and the strangeness is explained and we know what the motivations and the stakes are, the film improves drastically, but we're still left with half a movie that just isn't that satisfying. Okay, some spoilery things that include Endgame as well. You know what I don't like? Tony Stark left this for you before he died. And he left this as well. And he also left this for you. And he left this, he wanted you to have it. And he told me to give you this because he knew he was going to die and he had tons of time to set all of this up. It feels cheap when they do that, and I hope that this is the last time something like that happens. I would have liked more of a bond between Peter and Gyllenhaal before the big reveal, so I would have felt the betrayal more. And it was also really disappointing that the multiverse that Gyllenhaal talks about is not a real thing. When I saw that in the trailer, I was very intrigued because it could have led to a lot of interesting places in future movies. Like, it could have been a way to bring the X-Men or the Fantastic Four into the MCU. And I was disappointed that Mysterio dies at the end because I liked the Vulture and how he lived at the end of Homecoming, and I liked this character here. And I kind of thought that maybe the villains would be getting together in some movie down the road. I thought that could have been cool. There's a lot of uncertainty in real life about what the MCU even is now without Iron Man and Captain America, and that's all explored in the film with the idea that Peter is expected to be like the next Iron Man, and he's not sure about that. I thought that it was cool that they brought that in, but it didn't really leave us with any real answers to those questions that we have. And I like how MJ knows that Peter is Spider-Man, mainly because the whole I can't tell her my identity because she'd be in danger if my enemies discover who I am. That never made any sense. I'm going to give Spider-Man Far From Home an A-. The lackluster feeling at the beginning of the film brought it down in my opinion, but like I thought with Captain Marvel and what I know with Iron Man 3 is that it'll probably hold up better with a second viewing. And it was handled much better here than it was in those previous films. It's a really fun, entertaining, fun movie, and that seems to be its main objective, so it works really well. And most importantly, he's back. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson is back, and it's fucking awesome. It makes no sense that it be played by the same actor as the Sam Raimi films, but I do not give a sweet fuck. Thank you very much for watching my review. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. It really helps me out. And follow me on Twitter at LukeDoTheMovies. Please comment down below and let me know if you've seen Spider-Man Far From Home, what you thought of it, if you liked it, disliked it, if you agree or disagree with any of my points, or if you have any points of your own. I'll be back soon with more reviews, and I'll see you then.
Are you serious?